HRUNTING YGGDRASIL Mark 9 armor defense system, which you hopefully refer to on a daily basis as the Mantis, Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Starship Versus, the series where you take two ships or sometimes two ground vehicles from different universes, put them head to head, and try to predict which one would come out on top. Today we have a battle of the bipedal walkers, with the Mantis from the Halo series going against the AT-ST, the All-Terrain Scout Transport from Star Wars. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible, who are graciously sponsoring the channel. Go to audible.com/EckhartsLadder for a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. With that trial, you can download Heir to the Empire, the first book in the Thrawn series, and you'll finally be able to understand my almost unending references to and my love for that book. You'll also really be helping the channel out. Anyway, on to the content. As usual, we're going to take a quick look at both of these walkers and then put them head to head and try to predict which one would win in an even battle. What I mean by that is we're going to assume that both of these walkers are piloted by equally skilled persons, that they're both the standard varieties, and we're just trying to predict which one is the better weapon overall. The HRUNTING YGGDRASIL Mark 9 armor defense system, which you hopefully refer to on a daily basis as the Mantis, is a bipedal mech suit first introduced in Halo 4. As a little bit of fun, we see the Mark 1 version of this in the Halo Legends short prototype, and it's pretty badass. Thankfully, the Mark 9 is also pretty badass, and it was one of the high points of Halo 4 for me personally. The Mantis was created as an effort to combine Mjolnir technology, which is what goes into Spartan armor, with UNSC ground vehicles. At almost 20 feet tall and bristling with weapons, the Mantis is not something to take lightly. However, in my mind, the weaponry and the size of the Mantis aren't what make it notable. It has a couple of key features which really impact its effectiveness in battle. The first key feature of the Mantis is its rechargeable energy shield. This offers obviously an extra level of protection. In Halo 4, which is the version of the Mantis that we're going to be going with, the energy shield could fully recharge from depleted to full in 10 seconds. This helps protect the Mantis, especially from small arms fire. Despite the fact that Mantises would usually be operated by Spartans, they also provide complete protection for the wearer/pilot. Which brings us to the second key feature, just how lightweight and versatile this combat vehicle is. Although the Mantis can't output the same damage as some of the larger UNSC vehicles, one of its biggest assets is its speed and maneuverability. A Mantis's max speed tops out at a relatively modest 56 km per hour. However, it's effective on both flat ground and on more difficult terrain. The top of the Mantis can also move and aim independently of its legs, kind of like you'd see with a tank and a tank turret. It's able to aim and acquire targets extremely quickly. The Mantis can also move laterally very easily, has a good range of motion, and is able to hit targets in difficult positions. Offensively, the Mantis has two main weapons. The first is an M655 machine gun. This is easily capable of taking out unarmored ground targets, but will struggle against any sort of vehicle. On the other hand, and I mean that literally, we have the M592 missile launcher. This launcher holds 5 missiles, which can be fired independently or charged up and launched all at once. This launcher can lock onto ground-based or air-based targets, depending on the variant. Because the campaign Mantis is the one that's more prominent in Halo 4, we're going to use that one, which does not have ground-based lock-on. However, the missiles on the campaign Mantis are exceptionally powerful, easily enough to take down a Covenant air vehicle and even large Covenant ground vehicles like Wraiths. The Mantis also has the ability to stomp the ground around it, which causes predictable damage.
What the hell are they doing?
They're stomping the yard. Where are you from?
Defensively, the Mantis is also quite durable, although I will note that it is exceptionally vulnerable to electronic-based attacks, particularly EMPs and plasma pistols. Things like that put the Mantis out of commission and completely inoperable, and longer so than even other vehicles in the Halo universe. That being said, the Mantis does have the energy shield, as I mentioned, and is also completely armored with no real noticeable exploitable weak spots. You're not going to be able to do any serious damage to the vehicle with small arms fire, and We see in the Halo 4 campaign that it's even capable of shrugging off Forerunner weaponry. It's hard to exactly quantify defense, but the Mantis was very durable and, especially with its shields up, could probably even take a few hits from a Scorpion or other large vehicle. Going against the Mantis is the All-Terrain Scout Transport, the ATST, or as I affectionately call it, the Chicken Walker. The ATST was also a large bipedal walker. However, unlike the Mantis, it wasn't any sort of exoskeleton or exo-suit, it was an entire vehicle, and its size reflects that. It was around 30 feet tall, that's 10 feet taller than the Mantis. There were admittedly several variants of ATSTs, some which could most likely blow the Mantis out of the water, but for today's video we're taking a look at just the standard ATST, the one featured in episode 5 and episode 6. Like the Mantis, the ATST was a fairly fast vehicle, which partly leads to the use of Scout in its name, though I would argue that it is a bit more of a lumbering beast than the Mantis. It does have a faster top speed, at least on flat ground, but it is less maneuverable and does struggle with lateral movements. The ATST had 3 different weapon systems, each located on its head. The typical loadout would include a chin-mounted blaster cannon, and then a light blaster cannon on the side of its head, and a concussion grenade launcher on the other side of its head. Much like the Mantis's chain gun, the grenade launcher and the light blaster cannon were really more effective as anti-personnel weapons and helped protect the vehicle up close. The grenade launcher especially was needed to help protect against these threats, because the ATST was fairly unwieldy. The chin-mounted cannon, however, was quite powerful and could take down vehicles, although not instantly. The ATST decidedly does have some mobility issues. It's vulnerable from the side, and while it can move its head, it can't do so as quickly or as easily as the Mantis. We saw during the Battle of Endor that Chewbacca and some Ewoks were easily able to sneak up on the ATST, take over its compartment, and control it themselves. Also, unlike the Mantis, the ATST does have its interior open to the environment, although only on a small scale. We can see on its face that the 2 eye holes or viewing ports are open, they don't have any glass between them and the outside world, which allows either projectiles or a flame or an explosion to get in and damage the pilots. In both Legends and canon, the walkers relied on sensitive sensors and gyroscopes to keep the walker upright, and these were easily damaged in battle, even by small arms fire. To sum up my thoughts, the ATSTs were very powerful walkers. They had quite impressive anti-infantry weapons and could also take on larger targets. The walkers could move quite quickly on flat surfaces and could also handle more difficult terrain, relying on gyroscopes and other technologies. However, they were vulnerable in several key areas, and despite their ability to handle rough terrain, didn't have the same kind of maneuverability that the Mantis did. With this basic understanding of both vehicles, let's now take a look at the actual matchup, and just because I'm interested, before I give my opinion, I would love to hear your guys's. Take a second right now, vote in the upper right hand corner, and let me know which vehicle you think will be taking this matchup. Alright, so now time for my opinion. On one hand we have the ATST. It's a much larger walker and it has some powerful weapons, but I do see a few key weaknesses. Going against it we have the Mantis. It's smaller, its weapons probably aren't quite as powerful, but it's very maneuverable, very versatile, and besides not being scaled up more, doesn't really have any true weaknesses. It is, however, more of an exo-suit than a true vehicle, and that size limitation does impact the amount of power and the amount of weaponry that can be stuffed on it. So which one of these different in a lot of ways but same in a lot of other ways vehicles has the advantage? I think that it is the Mantis. The ATST has powerful main weapons, but it has a lot of vulnerabilities. First of all, we have the legs. They aren't armored to the same degree that the rest of the walker is, and are a very easy target, especially when going against the Mantis, which has those powerful rockets and also a chain gun. It's also not shielded, and even the upper portion of the ATST doesn't appear to be super durable. We see that an ATST takes out another one with one shot, we see that Logs, swinging together, manages to take one out, so I'm not convinced on the real strength or durability of the Chicken Walker, which is probably why it's meant primarily as a scout vehicle. Also, the Mantis is, at least in my mind, a lot more maneuverable. I think it will be able to quite easily get into a spot where the ATST will have difficulty hitting it, primarily the side or behind it. its ability to strafe more effectively should help it in that sense. Also, while it's doing this, it will be peppering the larger walker with rocket fire and with its chain gun. I think if it's smart, it will aim for the legs, and if it's lucky, it will maybe even take out the gyroscope. The ATST of course can return fire, but I do think the Mantis's shield should be able to absorb some of what's being fired at it. In my mind, ultimately this battle comes down to the fact that the Mantis is a very high-tech, experimental piece of UNSC hardware. On the other hand, the ATST is a very basic, very common form of an Imperial walker. When you think about it that way, also considering that the Empire often went for fear or looks over actual practicality and effectiveness, then it makes sense why the Mantis wins today. For that reason, I give this battle to the Mantis, and I think it wins 7.5 times out of 10. The only thing that the ATST has going for it is perhaps its main weapons. However, we don't see anything that really convinces me that those are super powerful, so the Mantis will take today's battle, at least in my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I know that you all already voted, but take a second and let me know down in the comments why you think whichever walker you picked to win would win. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you want to support the channel further, please check out my Patreon at patreon.com/EckhartsLadder. You'll get some unique benefits, or consider just going to audible.com/EckhartsLadder, sign up for a 1-month free trial, get a free audiobook, maybe even a good Star Wars one, and hey, that's good for both of us. Regardless though, I will always be here making Star Wars videos for you guys. Thank you once again, guys. This has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.